All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Bearded Nomad Van Life. Not really, well, yeah, I'm living full-time van life. I live in a van. Not down by the river most of the time, and, well, I'm certainly not traveling and enjoying van life like so many other people out there. No, I'm still working full-time. Finally got done with my build inside. So then now it's been time to start working on the mechanicals of the van, realizing that things need to be taken care of before I start traveling, after I save up some money. So, having two intermittent issues that I continually researched and read and watched videos on and, all this other stuff, I've ended up replacing a bunch of parts on this thing. Being smart and shopping at getting a lot of my parts from partsgeek.com. I know I'm not getting paid for advertisement. I'm going to give them free advertisement because they are a damn good website, good prices. So far, up until last weekend, I have had no problems with any of the parts that I got from them. Now, we are back here in the garage with Bear because last weekend, I had a video, but I didn't even bother putting it together and uploading one because within a few hours after being done and starting it up and everything seeming to be good, within 8 hours, I started having a rough idle. Check engine light came on. Went to AutoZone, had the scanner, used their scanner. Turns out I have a misfire in cylinder number 2. Now, last weekend we did plugs, ignition coils, and fuel injectors. 2 plugs would not come out. And due to the fact that I had no money to go get a spark plug removal kit, in the event that I would have broke off one of those 2 C spark plugs, I chose to let them in there. Now that was cylinder 4 and cylinder 8. So when it started running rough and the check engine light, I would have thought, I assumed it would have been cylinder 4 or cylinder 8 spark plug. But when the AutoZone guy tells me, no, you got a P0302, which is misfire in cylinder number 2. And I went, oh. So far, like I said, up till now, before this last weekend, I have had no issues with the parts that I got from partsgeek.com. Everything worked well and has worked. A lot of my two intermittent issues have eased up after replacing a bunch of the parts that I got from them. But was still happening, but not as severe and not as often. So, another little bit more research, and I read, that's going to leave a mark. That was a deep one. But anyway, after doing a little more research and reading on some Ford forums, that's when I realized that maybe my intermittent limp mode issue could have been a fuel injector causing it. And knowing that this van was not very well maintained when it was a work van, due to the fact that when I did the transmission filter and drained the fluid out of the case, the yellow plug was still in the pan that is in it for storage before it is put into a vehicle. That's an indicator that, because any mechanic, anybody that drops the pan to change the filter would have taken that out. Not that it hurts anything floating around in there, but they take it out. You just automatically do because you're cleaning out the tranny pan. You're cleaning off the magnet of the hopefully fine metallic sludge, which is exactly what I had. So I got lucky there because the fluid, transmission fluid, was burnt. There was almost no red to it anymore. It was brown. So I was the first person at 172,000 miles to drop the transmission pan on this thing. Ooh. I'm lucky the transmission's even working as well as it does. But hey, I'm not complaining there. I'm actually very happy with that. But after last weekend replacing those parts and then having the misfire in 2, knowing that I put the plug in tight, so it's probably most likely not loose, the plug's not loose, would lead me to assume that the injector, the ignition coil, is probably faulty. Or maybe possibly the injector, but I hope not, because my old injectors are at my storage in Palmyra. I am probably about 8 to 10 miles away from that, and I didn't feel like limping there to get my old parts, but I probably should have, or I should have stopped and got one new injector today. That's probably what the other thing, that's what I couldn't remember what I wanted to get, and that was it. So, but we're hoping that ignition coil and new spark plug will solve this misfire in cylinder 2. Because those are the most 2 likely things that cause a misfire. So, that is actually, I get it right. Hey, far away. So that's going to be my hope that those 2 items will fix this issue. I'm also going to attempt to put a little more muscle and leverage on the ratchet and try to break loose cylinder 4 and 8 spark plug this weekend. Because if they're standard spark plugs, I've seen videos where people do break. So if it does break off, I will have to go purchase, or hopefully maybe AutoZone has a Lona tool. Maybe they have a spark plug removal that they have in their Lona tool. And I could just rent the tool. So for that, if that happens here this weekend, I will have a ride, the ability to get to the parts store to try to get the removal tool, or to some store to buy one if I need to. But of course, now when I got here, my original plan was I was going to pull the dog's box off and get started right now tonight. But the problem is I'm tired. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. By the time I went to bed, I was only asleep for about 3 hours and 21 minutes when I had parked at my doctor's office to get my blood work done this morning. And I didn't have my back door locked. I didn't know that. I thought it was locked. And some dude decided to open my fucking back door this morning at 7:21. And as soon as the door opened, I woke up because it was like somebody turning the lights on in a dark room. And I said, "What the hell?" And he, sorry, closed the door. I don't know what it was about, because then I got up, I opened the back door, put my head out, because I sleep naked, stuck my head out the door, didn't see nobody, closed the door, locked it, came up to the front, stuck my head around the curtain, and the only guy I saw was walking towards the back of the doctor's office building, the building where my doctor's is, and where I get my blood work done. So I didn't sleep very well after that. I went back, I tried to lay back down. Didn't sleep very well though, so I'm thinking I might lay down and try to get some sleep here first. I did want to try to get the do the back cylinder 4 and cylinder 8's plug while the engine was warm to see if maybe that would help. But if need be, maybe in the morning when I get up, I will just start the van and let it idle for a little bit to warm up the engine slightly. And hope that maybe that will loosen the plugs and let me get cylinder 4 and cylinder 8 spark plug out. Because those two I should be able to get out without removing the fuel rail. Now, number 2, I have seen it done by a garage. When I delivered parts for AutoZone Commercial, I saw a mechanic remove ignition coils and plugs without popping the fuel rail. All he did was, I think he undid the bolts so that it could wiggle a little bit, but he didn't have to pop it out. Now, he had some special little swivel thing that he said only his tool guy, which it's not Matco and it's not Snap-on. It's some other, I've seen the truck around Lebanon County, but I've never seen it stop at a lot of places where you would normally see the Matco truck or the Snap-on truck. But apparently his part, this other parts guy, is the only one that has this special little short swivel that allowed him to do the plugs without removing the fuel rail. So I said, oh, well, if that's the case, how much you charge to do plugs and ignition coils? Because my van's going to need some soon. And he said to me, that's $1,000. I went, what? $1,000? Is that parts and labor? He's like, yeah. I said, well, what if I get the parts myself? Because at the time I got 10% off. He said, you bring me parts, I won't do it. He said, plus I get the parts cheaper than you do. I said, well, that's okay if you're going to give me the parts at your cost. Are you going to give it to me at your cost, or are you going to up the price? He said $1,000. So which means I'm going to pay the markup on the parts. So it doesn't matter that he's getting them cheaper. Now, if he was just jaw-jacking me and, joshing me, well, when it comes to me asking about a price for work, to get work done, the last thing that I want to do is have a mechanic josh me around, joking around, pulling my chain, pulling my leg. No, thank you. I'm asking for a price. At that time, I was making $12 an hour delivering parts. You tell me $1,000 to get spark plugs and ignition coils changed. Yeah, it might have taken me all last weekend because I can't stay hunched over. I got to stand up, stretch, so that my back doesn't kink up on me, and everything else, the rest of my body hurts. So it takes me longer to do things. But I spent the whole weekend working on this, changed everything out. Now, like I said, I'm hoping that I just got a faulty injection in the ignition coil. And I'm hoping that the one that I got from AutoZone now will fix the problem, I'm hoping. The other issue that it may have been self-caused. Because I did the passenger side first, bank 1, cylinder 1, 2, 3. And I know that on cylinder 1 and 2, I think it was, maybe 3, I did put a little dielectric grease in the end of the ignition coil boot, even though it already had this green stuff in the grooves. I added a little dielectric grease. Maybe it had dirt in it. Maybe I put too much. Maybe, I put too much, and now when I put it on, maybe the dielectric grease is conducting smoothed out and it's grounding to the head. I don't know. Now, I've read a couple different things, and apparently that's possible. So I may have self-caused this issue trying to be proactive using dielectric grease. Probably should have just put the coils on the way they were, like I always have my entire life, but lesson learned. And so yeah, I'm probably going to just lay down and take a little nap, or a long nap, or who knows. I guess it really depends on what my body tells me, because my body might just say, you sleeping? You staying in bed for a while? Like I did last weekend. Didn't get started till Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Sunday, I didn't get started till I think almost noon, 1 o'clock. But, so either way, that's on this weekend's agenda, is to try to eliminate the misfire in cylinder 2, get cylinder 4 and 8 spark plug out and replaced. And then I also have a new wheel, ABS wheel speed sensor for the front driver's side, because the wires are damaged. I had temporarily fixed them to be able to splice them better and easy. I added wire. It worked, but the extra wire made it stick out. I tucked it away and thought I had it secure. The wire ended up popping back out and ended up rubbing against the back of the tire and wore through the wire. So now my ABS light came back on. Of course, as soon as I did, I got out, looked, felt the wire. I'm like, oh. So I just bought a new ABS wheel speed sensor for that one. So that's going to get changed this weekend as well. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that when I'm done, Mona Van Lisa will start and idle smooth. No more check engine light, no more misfire, no more rough idle. And hopefully, that'll be done. That'll be it for that. Then it'll be on to saving up and getting a quote. I know I can buy the parts myself, order them online. But I'm going to have my buddy give me a quote for him to see if he wants to get the parts. But I'm going to need upper, lower ball joints, tie rod ends, and pretty much anything in the front end, suspension steering that has a bushing or a joint. That stuff's all going to need to get replaced. My front end is wearing my tires uneven. My tire uneven pretty bad. And then shocks for the front. And then going to need leaf springs for the rear and shocks for the rear. The leaf springs I'm going to order online. I got to have them shipped to my job, because they must be shipped to a commercial address, because they're going to come on an LTL truck. So next thing is the suspension and steering components to get everything fresh, tight, get a front end alignment done after that. And then the next thing after that will probably be another set of tires. Once everything's good, then I will buy a whole new matching set of tires for this thing. It had 2 new ones on it when I bought it on the front. I got 2 new ones for the rear shortly after getting it. Then had them rotated, and now the ones that I got put on the rear originally were on the front and wearing down on the inside. So by the time I get the front end, the suspension and everything done, I'm going to need new tires, at least 2 of them. So I might as well just get a new matching set, put the tires on this that I want to, give it its beefier look, and because I know I'm not going to be able to ever afford a 4x4 conversion on this thing. 25 grand is out of the question. 25 grand would allow me to retire right now and travel and just enjoy my last bit of time on this earth. traveling in my van and seeing beautiful places across this country. So unfortunately, 25 grand to somebody to do a 4x4 conversion out west is not going to happen. As much as I wish I could. Then again, I also, with a 4.6 liter V8, 4x4, that's going to kill my power, my fuel mileage. So instead of going through all that, and then not to mention the transmission has 173,000 miles on it, so that should be rebuilt if I'm going to make this four-wheel drive. So four-wheel drive conversion out of the question, unfortunately. Might still do the WeldTech Baja Grocery Getter 6-inch suspension lift. But then again, I don't know, because if I'm going to do that, then I shouldn't bother doing a lot of the suspension leaf springs in the rear, because the WeldTech lift kit comes with all that. So, but I can get new leaf springs for the rear of this for $400 to $600. The WeldTech 6-inch Baja Grocery Getter suspension lift is $5 grand, $5,500, something like that. And that's not even installed. That's just buying the lift, having them make it and ship it to me. So, thinking that's probably not my future either. So what we're more worried about here in the Bearded Nomad Van Life arena is just getting Mona Van Lisa solid, good running, solid, tight, and ready to roll. That's what we're worried about. That's what we're shooting for. So yeah. But so on that note, I will let you all go. I will catch you later. I will maybe do some updates as we're going here. If things go well, things don't go well, I will share that with you all. So if there's more video on the end of this, after this, good or bad, let's find out. We'll see later together. Catch you later.